Buenas noches and welcome to today's episode of The Untold, the show all about great individuals. I'm your host, Abdullah Hindiani. I'm joined by my colleague,
Lujain Al-Athari. And today we're bringing someone back who we had before because he seems to have so many interesting stories in his life. Before he pioneered podcasting in Kuwait, but now we're going to talk about his love of travel, especially on motorcycles.
Right. And of course, we're talking about Musaed Alhaddad, who, when we first wrapped the first episode, we spoke off camera and he just, casually mentioned that he was traveling with a motorcycle. And then he's also a horse rider. He's also, in also many kind of fields. So we're like, okay, we got to have you again.
I'm really curious to see what he has to say, especially my own father likes motorcycles as well, and he loves riding bikes in different countries.
Right.
So I'm curious to see what Musaed's take on it is.
Yeah, and I'm also personally curious to see what his take on it because, I've had a motorcycle before.
Oh, did you?
But I had a crash in it.
Oh.
So I want to see what I was doing wrong and what he's doing right. With that in mind, we're going to go on a very quick break and come right back with Musaed. Welcome back, dear viewers, but most importantly, welcome back, Musaed Haddad. And I believe when we first concluded the previous episode with you, we were talking and then we found out that you've been, through the world on motorcycles. So we're like, okay, we got to have you back again. So welcome and thank you for joining us again.
Thank you for having me again. Thank you so much.
It's wonderful to have you back again.
Thank you.
Could you tell us what started your interest in motorcycles?
Oh, gosh. I started very young. I think I was 13 at the time.
Really?
So, yeah, that young. And when you're that young, there's no fear. It just doesn't exist.
True.
And you start to test your limits. And that's where all the wheelies and all start to come. And my dad got, rest his soul, noticed that I'm just taking it further. And he ended up throwing my bike in the trash, literally.
No way.
Yeah, and it was gone in 5 minutes. At the time, they don't have keys. And so yeah, that was the first one. I think I got one when I was 15. That didn't last long because my dad found out. And I stopped. I stopped for a while, but I continue to have that interest. Went to study abroad, and I always thought that we move around in cages, sort of. We're always in a box, and the bike does not have that. So it's more liberating. But then I decided to come back. I was in my 30s, and I decided to come back again, and the rest was history. So yeah.
And speaking of history, I do wish that none of my parents watched this because I have owned a bike before. I know how dangerous it is. I don't drive anymore, but I want to talk to you more about your decision to travel with a motorcycle because for me, I can't even begin to imagine it. Right. Yeah. Just going on a neighborhood feels so dangerous to me personally. Going outside your borders is like, whoa. So what was the decision like?
Well, look, it's the number one. We always say when you're traveling with a bike, especially, it's about the journey, not the destination. And to translate that, it's about the experience. And traveling with a bike has a very unique perspective. It's different from anything else. First of all, you're traveling under the sky, similar to the old timers when they travel with camels and horses and even walking. So you're literally under the sky. You experience everything around you. It could be hot, humid, smelly, cold, everything you experience it firsthand, okay? Even when you go by a forest and you smell the pine trees, and you get such a rich experience. So I always crave that. I always crave that, to have that experience. And you cannot get that on an airplane, or you cannot get that in a car because you're isolated. You're inside your box. You cannot be approached when you're in a car, okay? So all of these things I really wanted to experience, and after I pretty much survey Kuwait, I've been everywhere. I decided it's time to just leave and just explore, and it was amazing and still amazing. It's something that that allows you to meet wonderful people and experience things that you continue to talk about.
It's actually funny that you say that because my father loves to do the exact same thing. He also has motorcycles and will ship them abroad to different countries to be able to drive in the mountains and just go on super long journeys. He loves the feel of the open air around him and the nature. And he says it's like the best feeling that he has. It's his most favorite thing to do.
I totally understand. And I have this one thing. I always love to leave from Kuwait. Yeah. It's just something, it just feels different that I take my own bike and it's with me. And we call it door to door. You actually, you know, leave from your door until you come back to your door. Yeah. There's no air, no plane involved. But of course, it's still joyful to ship, and I appreciate it if you don't have the time. But it's really, it's something else entirely. And your senses, you know, your peace of mind, you know, how you quiet everything. And if you think about it, it's the most that you get to spend with yourself. Right. Because if you're traveling for like 8 hours, these 8 hours, you're by yourself. Even if you have other bikers with you, you're only going to talk to them when you stop for gas. Yeah. The rest of the time, you're on your own. I'm one of the people who I don't use the comm systems. I have it, but I don't switch it on until like we are driving in a city or something. I appreciate this alone time, or me time. And there's a difference being lonely and being alone. It's just really different. And,
I agree.
And you need that. I think it's called the heart chakra. It's just you're at peace with yourself. Yeah. And it's really wonderful. It's really wonderful.
It's amazing. And you know, our producers, for our second question on this episode, it says many people dream of doing the same thing. And I gotta admit, I was those people. You know, back when I was a child, there was a documentary that stars, you know, believe it or not, Ewan McGregor, who's Obi-Wan Kenobi.
There's 3 of them now.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
He made the Motorcycle Diaries.
Yes.
I used to watch that. I was like, you know, this has been a dream of mine to travel around the world on motorcycles. So I do want to ask you, when you first started all of this, what was the goal behind it? Was it the curiosity of finding? Was it, you know, just the love of the motorcycle? Like, what was your goal?
Well, you know, after you drive all around your country, and for me, Kuwait, I wanted to see more. Yeah. I wanted to experience different terrain, different atmosphere, different things. And I'm a history buff. And it started off by me saying, I want to see this old castle, but I want to get there by the bike, you know, the bike. And I just combined these two elements. So I appreciated the journey, but I also have a destination in mind. But that was but mainly, again, it's the experience. Because really, you know, let me give you an example. You can have a job and you work tirelessly for a week preparing for this one important meeting. And on your way for that meeting, you spill your coffee. And you hustle to maybe clean your clothes and all that, and then you go to your meeting. A year from now, you forget this meeting entirely, but you still remember the coffee.
True.
Okay? And so imagine this is not a coffee, this is a whole journey. These are the things that last. Yeah. These are the things that give meaning. Right now, we take it as something nice to have, but really down the line, these are the things that you were going to talk about. These are the things that you're going to remember. And the rest of the things that consume most of your life now will be very trivial down the line. You don't even remember them. Right. But at the time, they sound loud and big, but really, they will just... And the same thing goes with when we travel, when we hit a problem. At the time, it sounds big, you know, it's a problem, what are we going to do? But then when we get home, you completely forget about it. You laugh about it, you know, it shrinks down and you just remember the good stuff. You know, that's how. So that by itself, this whole package is amazing to experience. And that's what drives me to keep on doing it, keep on experiencing new things, new places, new people. Yeah.
It sounds life transforming, to be honest.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And
definitely.
Even the journey itself seems very meditative, the way that you just are alone on the road and you keep going. Yeah, yeah. You mentioned something about a castle though. Was that your first trip out of Kuwait?
Gosh, first trip, I think the first one was to Sri Lanka, if I'm not mistaken, outside.
You drove
we don't count the Gulf, you know, for us, the Gulf is one country, you know, so we don't count, like, so driving, you know, I've been to all the Gulf states, you know, all the way to Salal, Oman. We tried to get to Yemen, but we couldn't. So that we don't count. But as far when I go to a different area, different terrain, I mean, Salal is different, definitely, but Yeah, so we start off by exploring nearby, but then you get so used to it. That's when you start considering going somewhere far. And I remember Sri Lanka was really such an experience. I mean, funny enough, you see someone selling papayas on the road and they have the biggest smile. And you would like to ask him, what are you smiling about? I mean, you feel for the guy.
Yeah.
But he's so happy and content with these simple things. I mean, their children are happy, smiling, playing. And I made his day when I buy this little box of papayas. I made his day. He's like, I could go home now, And it makes you appreciate what you have, appreciate other people. And like I said, when you're on a bike, you're approachable. So people tend to approach you and say, what's your story? Where you came from? And especially if you're traveling with your bike and your license plate says Kuwait, it's like, did you drove all the way from Kuwait?
Yeah.
And they start asking you questions, and what about this? Or my cousin's nephew been to Kuwait, and you get all these stories, and then you get the invitations.
Yeah.
You need to stay with us, or have lunch with us, and all that. Sometimes we say yes, sometimes sorry, we can't. And they're just hungry to hear from you. You're like an alien from a different planet. Like, tell me more. How did you do this? How much this bike cost? And how much gas you need, and so where do you stay, and all these questions. I remember we stayed in it's an old officer club in Sri Lanka. So this was during the colonization. There was like an officer club converted to a hotel. And I was sitting in the lobby, and this lady asked me, it's like, excuse me, is this your bike? I said, yes. And she said, how long you been here? So far 8 hours. And she said, how long you staying? And I said, 6 more hours. and there is something about, and I want to be clear about what I mean here, not having roots.
Yeah.
I'm not saying like, I belong to people and I'm from here. No, what I'm saying, you don't have this attachment to where you are right now.
Yeah.
And you belong to the road itself. When you have that feeling that your time in this spot is limited, you tend to see things in HD colors.
Right.
Because that, let me give you an example. If you go to a restaurant and you see 2 things that you like to try, you go, okay, I'll try this, and next time I'll try that. You don't have a next time because you're leaving in 6 hours.
So you make the most of it.
Make the most out of it, And if there's something you want to see, you got to see it now, because tomorrow morning you're out of here, you're gone. And I want you to imagine the feeling when you meet somebody at a gas station and you talk, and your clock is your coffee. And when you finish your coffee, you say, I have to leave. And that same night, this person is in a different country and you are in another country. Imagine, you just cross path and now you're in completely different countries. You could be like 1,000 kilometers away from each other. And I found that fascinating. Just a few hours ago, I was, speaking with this guy, conversing with him, and now we're worlds apart.
Yeah,
I found it fascinating.
It's a very surreal kind of experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a culture called nomads. I think it's where these people feel like they don't belong to any place, but they belong to basically planet Earth. So they're constantly on the move.
Yeah.
We are going to go on a very quick break, and we'll come right back after this one. And we are back with Musaed Alhaddad, and I believe we mentioned, or you rather mentioned, that Sri Lanka was, I would say, a profound experience for you.
Yeah, yes, it was.
Yeah.
Yes, it
But
was.
I do want to ask you about something that was more, difficult. What journey really tested you, right? What journey was so difficult for you to make, going from A to Z?
Well, there's different kind of difficulty. For example, the road to Salalah, Salalah is, it's known for fall of Salalah, which is in August. And the Serb season is the 1st of September. All means that you have to, if you intend to go on a bike, you have to ride in August. So you can imagine the heat.
Oh, the heat.
And so we had to ride most of the time at night. And the drawback is it's less heat, but it's far more concentration because you're limited by what your lights can see. And it's a long, long way. And you need to understand that the distance from Muscat to Salalah is farther than from Kuwait to Muscat. So you reach Oman thinking, and oh, I'm there. No, what's left is a lot more. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is the type of difficulty that you know, with the road. I have problems sleeping sometime, and but you cannot stop. So sometimes you have to ride while you're tired. But then here I have to mention something that I always tell any new rider. There are two aspects that you have to be at peace with. You need to be mature and understand your limit. I cannot stress enough how important this is. Being mature is taking good decisions. For example, if you can ride the day instead of night, do that. If you can rest, if you have a chance to rest, do that. Don't push. If there is a risk, like you're going up a mountain and you believe that you don't have the skill level to do that, don't do it. It's not worth the risk. Understand your limit is a key to be mature, because when you know your skill, you know what you can and cannot do. And I always tell whoever ride with us, just because I did it doesn't mean you can. And just because you can do it doesn't mean I can. There's a different skill set. So knowing your limit allows you to make mature decisions that will keep you safe and come home safely. So back to your question about difficulty, the journey itself sometimes is hard. Other hardship will be something happen, you know, an accident or something on the road. The funny ones is when something breaks down. That's usually, if you have a good attitude, you treat it with a smile. And you know, I experience all of those. So each has its own, you know, difficulty and how to manage. But if you stick to the first two rules, being mature, understand your limit, it allows you to handle the situation very well. Yeah.
So would you say it's better to be a professional rider before embarking on such a journey?
I know a lot of people who bought their first bike and went off to Russia.
Russia?
Yes.
That's far.
Yep. And look, here's the thing. When you wear a helmet, seat belt, all of these things designed to keep you safer. But in the end, if it's meant to you to be safe, you'll be safe, you know? So, but you're increasing your chances. This is the same thing. If you know what you're doing, it increase your chances to have a good journey. If you don't know, it doesn't mean it's going to be a disaster, but you'll have more chance of it, you know? For me, I'd rather to have the best chance to have the best trip. So I always tell people, you need to do some homework. Let me give you an example. In Kuwait, our terrain is flat. This is different than anywhere else. You know, other countries have hills, downhills, and the riding is completely different. When you're going into, you know, a mountain pass, like I believe a lot of them in Saudi Arabia to the south, it's called Aqaba. It's just really hard if you don't know what you're doing. It's nerve-wracking as well, because you're taking a sharp turn slow and you're climbing. Yeah. And if you're not confident, you fall. If you don't have good tires, if you don't have good traction, if it's raining that day, all of these elements needs to have a mental toughness and preparedness. You need to know what you're doing so that you're simply executing rather than reacting. There's a lot of, you know, difference in that. The bikes are not cars. They're not like bicycles. There's a difference in handling that power and handling that torque. So if you don't know all of these things, it's easy for you to panic. I'll give you a golden rule. The bike follow your eyes. That's
follows your eyes.
The bike follow your eyes. Wherever you look, the bike follow. That's a golden rule. So whenever I'm with someone and I see him going off the right track, and they always say the pavement came to me. No, it came to the pavement. The reason this happened is that you're looking at the pavement and the bike follow your eyes. This is we call SR, survival reaction. You're doing something as a reaction, but it doesn't help you. If you see a danger and you kept staring at it, you lock, the bike will go to the danger. You need to train yourself. When you see a danger, you ignore it and see where the safety is, because the eyes will follow the bike will follow your eyes. So train yourself to look at safety, not the danger. So against your reaction. But if you know what you're doing, it will come naturally to you. If you're not, you will look at the danger, you panic, you have what we call, you know, you lock to the danger, and the bike will follow, and you end up in an accident. So all of these things, when you know about them and you prepare yourself mentally and you practice them, it makes your journey a lot easier, because again, you're simply executing, you're not reacting. You know what you're doing. I use this a lot. For example, I was in Jordan, and we went deep inside the valley, and while I was going down, I was worried about how I'm gonna come out. It was very steep and bumpy, and you know, and I had pros with me. These guys do rallies, so you know, the skill set again, know your limit. And you know, I just use my training. I locked into the top, and I have confidence that I'm gonna reach the top, no problem. And that's what happened.
Yeah.
So these tools help you rather than you struggling and try to. Eventually, you will learn, but you're doing it the hard way.
Yeah.
Why? I mean, you can get hurt, you can hurt your bike, you can ruin your trip. Why? Get these skills early and enjoy your travel.
Yeah, and I don't think where, or I remember where I heard it from or where I read it from, but there's something in my mind that's about driving, riding, whatever. It says that, you know, a good driver rarely misses his exit, but a bad driver never does. And I believe the meaning behind that phrase is that, you know, a bad driver will always make bad decisions. So a good driver will make good decisions.
Yeah.
And I think for motorcycles, good decisions, you know, can be a life or death kind of situation.
Absolutely.
And also riding a motorcycle feels very unnatural, because when I was taking classes, the first thing they tell you is
Counter steering.
counter steering, which is basically you have to turn with your body instead of the steering
It's
wheel.
actually, well, I want you
so
to imagine
confusing.
if you're holding a steering wheel, the intuition, if you want to turn left, you turn left.
Yeah.
In the bike, you turn right.
Oh.
You turn left.
So it's like complete opposite.
That's why it's called counter steering.
Yeah, it feels so unnatural.
Yes,
Yeah.
but by the way, all my children knows how to ride bicycles. And the reason being is that I understand this, so I can teach it very well.
Yeah.
Because it is confusing how I turn right to go left. You know, it doesn't make sense, but it does. It works because you're going on 2 wheels, not 4. But you're absolutely right. These decisions, and now what helps my experience that I used to go to the track, where you go fast, and when you on the track, you need to hit those apex really well so that you can hit your exit. That helps you a lot reading the road, you know. So the track does help. I tell a lot of people, if you're confident enough, track does make you a better rider, by far. Yeah.
Do you think going fast is easier sometimes?
It's a mindset. If you're in harmony and you're in what we call, you're in the zone,
The flow.
you're just flowing. Exactly. You're just not thinking, it's flowing. And this is the thing, you're not the same rider every day. I could wake up someday and get on the bike and I'm not myself today. So being mature, I turn down my limits. So you'll find me not doing or turning or going as fast as I'm used to. I tone it down because today I'm not myself. Other days I'm at one with the bike. I know what I'm doing. I'm in the flow. I feel it very well. I feel everything. And here's the thing, with time, you build a relationship with the bike. Because it talks to you, there's a feedback. And so you know that there's something's not right.
Yeah.
I remember once I told one of the boys, like, you know, my bike's not feeling well. And he said, what are you talking about? Can you try it? And he's like, that's fine. And when we reached the next city, the clutch was burned.
Oh.
I just felt the vibration is different. It feels different. So having that feel also help you. That's why we always say when you switch to a new bike, it's not your bike yet. You need to spend time to get to know each other. Then it becomes your bike. And then you can take it, you know, to places, because now you have trust. I know how the bike behave. And that's important.
Yeah, and speaking of that trust, because you've said that before, when you're in the bike, you're not, you know, lonely, you are alone. So I do want to ask you, you know, going on so many long trips, you know, have you discovered something about yourself? You know, have you discovered some new traits about your own personality on these long roads that, you know, require patience and endurance?
One of the things I would say, and you probably heard this a lot, but don't judge a book by its cover.
Oh.
When you travel, you meet a lot of simple people. You meet people that looks different, behave different. And it's easily to make judgment, thinking that this guy is hostile, this guy is rude, this guy, but in reality, he comes from a different background.
Yeah.
And he could be just the way, for example, if you live in a country, they're used to maybe speak loudly because they usually have a lot of distance. So they tend to have, you know, a loud voice. You may be offended by that or feeling you're being attacked somehow because why is he yelling at me? He's not. That's just how he talks. So once you remove that barrier and just have an open mind towards people, you find your experience completely different. I remember I was in Jordan and I was going to one of the castles. It's fascinating. It's called Al-Karak. And this been around before the Crusades, a long time ago.
That's so cool.
And the police, you know, said, "Bring your bike here." And naturally, you feel like, what I have done? I mean, why the police call me? And he said, "We really want to talk to you, you know, about your bike, you know." So, you know, and I end up, you know, having dinner with them, chats and all that, and they arranged for me a nice tour, you know, with the tour guide and everything. So, you know, just have an open mind. And I was approached by, you know, an older lady and, you know, so if just by you relaxing and not passing judgment very quickly, of course, you always have, you know, good judgment. For example, I tend to not try as much as possible to explore countries in daytime.
Yeah.
You know, just good common sense, you know. But and you know, just have, you know, common sense. But that initial judgment can be a barrier between you and a very nice people and a very good experience.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, and I do love how, you know, we can wrap this whole episode on under the umbrella of don't judge a person based on what you believe or what you think. You know, be open to whatever kind of person you meet. And I do want to thank you for joining us again. You know,
Absolutely.
talking with you has been really enlightening, has been really fun. So thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you.
We really appreciate it. I think Abdullah is going to have to start his motorcycle journeys now.
Hopefully I can never meet up with the
Well, you know the two rules now, so you're all set.
Yeah. So, Musaed Alhaddad, thank you for joining us. And
You're
thank you, our dear viewers, for sitting with us. But we are going to go on a very quick break. We'll come right back after this one. Well, happy writing. And that was a very happy episode of The Untold. Brilliant episode. We were speaking so much off camera as well. We were like, okay, Musaed, we got to have you back again for a third time.
I think we do. He seems to have more stories that are not told yet, which I'm really curious to see how it will be in the future. But the stuff that he talked about today, the way he explained the journey of riding, it sounds like a truly transformative experience.
Yeah, you know, like they say, he was, you know, Bahar al-Ilm. I don't know what they say it in English, so, you know, I just said in Arabic. It was amazing talking to him. He was filled with knowledge. He was filled with great stories. You know, off camera, he was talking about going on so many dangerous places. He was like, oh, I didn't mention this, I didn't mention that. But amazing conversation.
The philosophy that he has in mind when riding a motorcycle, I think it's really unique. It's almost like he becomes one with the motorcycle, and it takes him on the journey, which I think is really beautiful and could really inspire a new generation of riders who want to take these kind of trips.
Well, hopefully to those new riders, we have to say, do ride with caution. But with that in mind, that's the end of today's episode of The Untold. Goodbye for now.
And thank you for joining us.